All right, folks, I'm joined once again with Larry Ballard. He's going to explain the big, beautiful bill to everybody and why this is actually going to make this is the skeleton in making America great again. This is going to be the infrastructure of this country, the America First agenda, and why it is so important and why we need to understand this. So, really pay attention, folks. Really put your thinking caps on. This is going to be an amazing podcast. And Larry Ballard is definitely going to bring it. Larry, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You do a lot of research on stuff like this, and I'm always impressed with your work. So I feel like this is a must-have video in my collection. I need to have this in there. So I mean, it's really good because you're a thorough researcher, and I appreciate your work, and you're a great patriot.
Thank you. Thank you. And I
Before I get
appreciate you having on your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I get started, folks, guess what? It's that time again. All right. The number one worst fruit for your waistline. Are you turning healthy fruits into highly unhealthy fruits without even realizing it, folks? Fruit can be one of the healthiest things you can put into your body, but the majority of Americans are guilty of making this single mistake that can counteract all the health benefits of fruit. Some fruits can help with occasional constipation, which like some of my thumbnails look like I'm having, reduce bloating, and even help burn calories. Others can wreak havoc on your digestive system and energy levels. I came across this vile presentation that from world-renowned heart surgeon Dr. Stephen Gundry, who showcases the three fruits to stop eating today. It was shocking. I had no idea. And after finding out, I stopped eating these too. I'm going to put the link down below so you all can watch it because you all want to gain this information because you all will think this is very important as I do. Go watch it right now at thehealthyfat.com/Nino. That's thehealthyfat.com/Nino. It's down there below, folks. You won't believe these fruits that make you fat. What do you think? Am I getting better?
You're getting better.
All right, I'm getting better. All right, that's as long as I'm getting better. Hey yo. All right, so the healthy fat folks, get down there and check it out. All right, so I'm gonna pull up the slides and we're gonna go into this.
Mhm.
You put together these. How do you find the time to do this? I mean, these are so thorough. I was looking at this right now. I was like, golly, man, this is a lot of research that goes into this. I no, that's just some people can do it, some people can't. I don't have the patience for it. All right, go for it.
You ready?
Yeah,
Folks,
oh yeah, ding,
pay
ding, ding.
attention. This is the skeleton for what's going to make America great. And you're going to see that this is happening. And here's what I want to give you the caveat on.
Is it, let me just say
I
this.
do
It almost seems like even with all the MAGA meltdown and everything with the Epstein list and all that, Trump is very happy. He's like, I won. He already won. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Even with
yeah.
the Epstein list coming out, the MAGA meltdowns, everything that's happening right now, I can tell by a man's confidence, just like in boxing, everything that this aura about him, he feels like he already won.
Well, with that in mind, before we start this, there's two things that are happening in his mind. He knows that he's getting control of the financial system. He controls money, controls the world. So with that, getting in control of the financial system, he's getting control of all the spheres of influence. And then what's going to happen after that? Once he gets all that situated, we're going to start getting whistleblowers come out right and left, and we're going to see the whole economy flip within the next. Well, between now and the end of the year, you're not going to recognize America. We're going to have be deep into his platform to make America great again. So let's dig into this big, beautiful bill. And I want to tell you, it's in two parts. The first part is basically laying foundation for those who don't know what he's trying to do to make America great. And the second half, God really wants me to do this. I don't make any money doing this. I don't promote any products, but he wants me to tell you that the financial reset is beginning and it's starting with the currencies. And he wants me to tell you how you can basically come out of watching this video and have a stake in the ground in terms of the transfer of wealth from the wicked to the righteous. So let's get into this.
I think that was you, Larry.
That was me. I just turned it off.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to the first slide. So here's the first thing. They're lying to you. That's no surprise, right? They're telling you what? That this bill is going to add massive amounts of money to the national debt. When we get through this, you're going to find it's going to do the exact opposite. So right off the bat, what's it doing? It's got a $1.5 trillion savings associated with it. What else is it going to do? Let me get over here where I can see what I'm looking at. It's going to change Medicare and Medicaid. Well, what are they saying? They're saying it's going to collapse Medicare and Medicaid. No, folks, it's going to get the deadbeats off of the rolls of Medicare and Medicaid, which is going to save Medicaid. So that's we're going to see that as we get into it. Expand Trump's era of tax cuts. So what are the Democrats been wanting to do? They want to raise tax. What happened here in this bill? They extended his tax cuts from his first term, and he's got new tax cuts for the second term, totaling 1.5 trillion. Let's go on down deeper and deeper, and we're going to see this next slide. It's just the essence of it. This is what you're really looking for. America is bleeding out financially. The answer is so simple, it's not even funny. Stimulate the economy. What's that mean? Bring in manufacturing, bring in new trade deals, make everything profitable. Don't lose money on them. Give the people tax cuts, which stimulates the economy. And bam, the next thing you know, we're heading in the right direction. This next slide is probably the most detailed slide in the whole presentation, and I'm going to go through it. I've seen people do a whole hour on what I'm going to do with this one slide. What we need to understand is there's a fatal flaw underpinning our current fiat system. Every dollar that's printed creates a bond, and that bond creates a debt obligation. And that debt obligation is what creates our national debt, along with the massive amounts of money that we spend on perpetual wars. So every dollar that is printed creates a debt that we have to pay. And so we can never, ever, ever get out of debt. The system has to just eventually implode in on itself. And that's what's happening. So don't blame Donald Trump when during his presidency here, we have a financial collapse. But as we get into this deeper, you're going to find out that he has a plan for a deep dive. It's going to
We are
crash.
going to have a financial collapse, but the financial collapse will be us going into the new system. That's all it is.
Yes. It's just get rid of the old, come in with the new, and we come back out
And
stronger.
those who are not preparing right now, they're the ones that are in trouble.
Yep. So if I sum this up, because we're going to need to go so quickly, debt increases taxes until they get to the point that we just buried, and then finally everything crashes. The fiat system goes away. We go to a new system based on commodities that can't be controlled and can't be manipulated.
Okay, hold on. But so they wanted the reset. The globalists want the reset, but it's gonna matter who owns the reset, right? Who's gonna own the outcome of the reset?
Absolutely.
And so, but what you're saying is Trump's going to own it. The new system.
He owns it. He owns it. And here, let's go to the next slide, and we'll see what has to happen. There's certain things that you're looking for. If we're going to get out, go to the next slide. Up, one up. There we go. If we look at what's happened and we go back and look back 4 years, here's what is cascading. This is where the global elite said, we're having the reset, our reset. They wanted to lock us down. They wanted to drive us up. And so what happened is in that lockdown period, more money was printed by most nations that had been printed in the last 100 years. So that's the inflation that we're seeing. That's what's causing it to be the point that we can't afford to even buy groceries. So two things that happen: deglobalization, take the trade away from China, spread it out to nations all over the world; de-dollarization, take away from control of the dollar so that we can't leverage nations and basically hold them hostage to the dollar. So both basically to set the stage up for this new economic system, we have to have deglobalization so they can't control the necessities of life, and de-dollarization so every nation has its own sovereign currency based by God's economic system, which is all your produce, all your agriculture, all your minerals, all your manufacturing. Everything that has substance and value is what's going to underpin our system going forward. Let's go to the next slide. And this is where what you were talking about, Nino. This is where Trump is doing a controlled collapse. We have to get out of the old system, but it's genius. I mean, this is really what's going into that genius bill that everybody is talking about this week. So basically, he's going to traverse the Great Reset, and he's going to do it in this way. He's going to create a dominant reserve currency for the United States. We will no longer be the sole reserve currency, but his goal is to come out of this reset where 61% of all global trade is still traded in the dollar. That gives us dominance, but it doesn't allow us to be dictatorial like we are sometimes now. And here's how he's going to do it. He's going to establish a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and then he's going to have a stable coin backed by the dollar and backed by gold. Well, let's talk about that Bitcoin strategic reserve. If you've been following, and for those of you who might have watched The Greatest Show on Earth, he's confiscating money from the criminals. And that's all going to go to pay down our national debt. So as we go through this before he's out of this term, I think we're going to see our national debt not go up, but go down markedly and maybe even paid off. So in terms of that Bitcoin strategic reserve, let's look at what it's doing for us. Right now, every dollar that's printed creates a debt to the Federal Reserve, and it's bankrupting us. What's going to happen over here is that's called a non-collateralized debt. So it's a high interest rate. We're going to refinance $9 trillion this year. He's forcing the Fed to lower the interest rates so that refinancing doesn't collapses. And at the same time, he's setting up a strategic reserve. Think of it as our own bank. So we can borrow money from ourselves through that reserve because it's assets that we have, and we can borrow it at a much lower rate. That's creating that cushion for that soft collapse. And then let's go on down. Allow banks to offer dollars backed by what? Digital assets in a regulated, secure manner. That's what's happening this week, folks, with the Genius Bill and all the stuff that's coming out. Told you, that's
what is it, the Genius Bill and the Clarity Bill, or what's the second one?
Yes. And in essence,
what are those bills in a nutshell, Larry? I mean, I don't really...
nutshell, what they're going to do is once we get through the SEC release of the lawsuit, then they have to put infrastructure in so that they can control the crypto market so that you can feel secure.
What does that mean, control the crypto market? What does that mean, control the crypto? Taxes on it? What does that mean?
They can give structure to it. It means so that you can feel comfortable going out and transacting in crypto using electronic payments so that you can feel comfortable that if you've got a whole lot of XRP, you can stake it and you can use it like a savings account. So basically what they're going to do is put the structure into a new banking system. And that's going to take a little while. And
so that's going to take away from the Federal Reserve note. Obviously, the dollar is going to be nothing. It's going to kind of coexist at the same time for a while. And then it's just going to be what? Weeded out, the dollar? Or the dollar is going to go into the gold-backed dollar, correct?
What did Trump say? We're going to go from the internal revenue service to the external revenue service.
Right.
So what he's telling you, his cue is, we're going to pay off the national debt, get out from under the Fed, just like Kennedy was trying to do. And all of those taxes that you're paying, that 35% that you pay illegally on your wages is going to go away. And we're already seeing property taxes go away. So the taxes are going to drop dramatically. There's a slide in here that shows it. We've already printed a new rainbow currency, a gold-backed currency, but people don't understand. Only about 2% of all the transactions that are done in the world are done with paper anyway. We've already been on an electronic system. We just don't know it.
But are we still going to be able to use cash?
Yes, you're still going to have cash. So the key difference here is that basically there will be value. You won't be able to inflate and deflate because a sack of potatoes is a sack of potatoes. A cargo ship full of oil is a cargo ship full of oil. So it's going to bring stability to the market where they can't manipulate and inflate and go on. So basically, that's what he's doing to create a soft landing. Let's go to the next slide, and you're going to see what really the bleed is that they're talking about. And basically it's intentionally losing trade. So he's fixing these things one at a time. So what did he do? He went in and got us out of NAFTA, got in as the MAC, and then said, come back and said, we've still got to do some negotiating. We're still paying too much on tariffs. So he's going to basically create a situation where instead of losing money on our trade deals, we're going to make money. Then he's going to drain the Washington swamp, because once he gets control of the money what is he who controls money controls everything. Then he gets control of the spheres of influence. Then all of the whistleblower stuff comes out, and America gets their eyes open, and we get a new economy. And what was Doge about? Yeah, it was about finance and fraud, but what it was really about, what do they say? Is follow the money, follow the money. And so basically what they're doing is digging deep into the illegal activities and finding out who's who and where's it at. And basically what's he doing with war? He's tamping down these wars. He's doing his best effort to try to basically bring peace and prosperity to the world, because you can't have a stable financial system if you're fighting perpetual wars all the time. That's bleeding America out. And then I'm going to do a couple of shows coming up in the next few weeks. Immigration is a weapon like you cannot believe. It's not only the people coming in, but it's basically the debt that we have, because we're giving these people all kinds of entitlements. And then in the long run, what they're doing, I'm going to do a show on this in a couple of weeks, is they're trying to take away the ability for the Republican Party to ever get anybody elected again. And that's going to happen with what they're going to do in the 2030 election if we don't stop it. Let's go on down. And I want to show you a little bit about why it's so draining to our economy to have 10 to 20 million immigrants come in. People don't realize the dangers of what that does to destabilize an economy. If you don't have a closed border, you don't have a sovereign nation.
So the
People don't
immigrants were
realize
all they were going to do was help overthrow or destroy the country, and it would have never been able to rebound ever again.
absolutely.
We would have been a
So
third
here's
world country. It was going to turn us into a third world. That's what people do not understand. That was the whole objective here, right, Larry?
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, here, I'll go into what's going to happen in the census real quick. So what they want to do in the census is take those 10 to 20 million people to come in. They want to funnel the purple states. They want to funnel them to swing states. Then what they want to do is count everybody, every human person in the planet. And what that does is that means that those purple and swing states have way, way more people. And so they're going to actually, when the census is done, they will get a couple of House seats. They'll get electoral votes. They'll get more money. And all of a sudden you'll find out that the Republicans don't control anything anymore because they've stolen the election even before election day. We've got to stop that. But anyway, here we go. And basically people don't realize this. And between 1924 and 1965, we built our infrastructure. And so we said, these people coming in, just like the ones coming in now, are poor. They've got health issues. They're a drain on the economy. They're collapsing us internally. So we stopped having any immigration at all. There was no legal immigration in America from 1924 to 1965. We need to go back and do that right now. And the other reason that it was a problem, besides the financial part, was basically what they were doing was creating an assimilation issue. So what do we see? We see all these big protests. And they're not waving American flags and honoring America and patriotism. They're waving their Mexican flags.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we've got a group of people in here who are creating chaos within our nation, and we need to turn it around. All right, let's go on down because I want to get to the real details before we run out of time. Let's go to the next slide. So a nation with no border has no nation to be sovereign over. And so we have to close our borders. We have to get rid of the drug trafficking, the human trafficking, and the national security. What did he do? They told us we can't do it. We can't do it. The border's secure. And yet 20 million people came in. He came in and in no time flat, he's basically closed the border. And in coming weeks, I'm going to tell you how we're going to basically get these people out. We're going to get them to self-deport. And then here's something, we need to do. I'm sure this is important to your audience. I'm going to do a whole show on this. We basically have to protect the dreamers, because if we don't, we're going to create civil war. So we've got a driver's license, and mine has a star on it. It means I can travel anywhere I want freely. All we have to do is go back and say to the dreamer population that if you can show us that you've been here since, say, since 2019, then you're excluded. You have a grandfather clause, and you don't have to worry about being deported. So we can create stability out of this mess that's been done. Let's go on down and stay on top of this topic really tightly. So Trump's USMCA.
Larry, you could take a couple deep breaths, man. Don't worry.
Okay. Tried to get done with it.
No. We're good. We're good. Let's finish this. It's good.
All right. So here's what's happening. They want us to believe that Trump's going to add money to the bill. What I'm going to show you is that we've been bleeding out under NAFTA, and he's changed the whole environment for trade, and we're going to make money. So if we go to this next slide, we're going to see the truth.
He's basically killed NAFTA, because now all the companies have to come back to America, correct?
He's killed NAFTA, and he created the AMACA, and then he's gone back, and on top of that, he said, well, we still need to renegotiate, and so he's negotiated better trade terms. So here's what was happening. If we look at this, if you'll go on down and get to the graph down below, here's what they were doing to us. They were ceding trade to China. And so we were, at the time they did that under Carter, we were 200 years old, and all we had was a $660 billion national debt in over 200 years of accumulation. And then all of a sudden, bam, we go into the intentionally losing NAFTA. And when Carter comes out of office, it's gone to 993 billion. And then when Reagan's out, it's 2 billion, 2.6. And then when Bush is out, it's 4.1. You see the jumps, they're drastic. Then you get it's 5.6. Now watch what happens. Now Bush comes in, and what? War is the principal cause of driving us into debt. It doubles. It doubles to 10.7 trillion. And then Obama comes in and does what he does with all of his entitlements, and we go to 19.5.
Doubled it again, basically.
That is going to reverse. Instead of him adding debt, he's going to pay off our debt with what's going on. This is the lie. This is the huge lie. This is how they've driven us to where we have a $37 trillion net or near bankruptcy.
So this is the lie of the big beautiful bill, what everyone's spewing out
This
there.
is what they're covering up. They're
Yeah.
saying he's going to, just like these others, add all this additional debt. What he's going to do is pay debt down.
So
So let's
this is
go
the
on.
one big lie.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's exactly what it is, Nino. Now,
Wow.
facts speak, right?
Yeah.
So let's get down to some facts. Let's go to the next graph, and I'm going to show you where what the man is telling us is true. So what you see here are the tariffs on average the agreements that we had with other nations. So let's take those two columns and let's take China. So they were charging us on average 67% tariff. We were only charging them 34. So we're losing money. They're making money. Let's go down to South Africa. They're charging us 60. We're charging 30. Let's go to Vietnam. They're charging us 90. We're charging them 46. So basically, what you see is that everybody complained about Trump raising the tariffs, but all he was trying to do was create equity. We were losing money. That was the basis of that previous chart that you saw where we kept doubling and doubling and doubling our debt. He's bringing it back to where, hey, if we're going to make something, let's make a little profit on it. And that's going to allow us to pay down our debt. Let's go to the next slide, and I'm going to show you where the war is going to be over the next few years. And that is with trade, and that is with technology. We already are winning the war on trade. Basically, Xi Jinping says, well, you put those tariffs on and all the nations of the world are going to isolate you and they're going to come to me. No, 150 nations came to the United States and said, we'll deal with you, Trump. And so they did. So that basically is bleeding China out. They're so desperate that this has not reached the mainstream news yet, but I think I can say it because it's some pretty good foundation. But it appears that China's in such bad shape that they just confiscated the gold of their residents and only allowing them to keep 40 grams. But guess what? That's all an indication that there's a reset coming. Let's go back in history. And what did we do in
We did that in
1933?
World War II, right? Or I'm sorry.
1933, during the heart of the
Right, right,
Depression,
right, right.
stock market had dropped 90%. And we sent a nice little gram out to the people and said, hey, folks, we want you to give us your gold. And if you don't, we'll charge you $10,000 fine and put you in jail for 10 years. As soon as they got it, what do? They doubled the price of the gold. And what did they leave us with? They left us with an asset that goes down and down and down to where the dollar is now worth 3 cents. When I was a kid, there was something called a mill. It was a tenth of it was at 1/10 of a penny. Now they're even getting rid of the penny. The dollar's worth about 3 cents. So basically but no, that gold that you had in 1933 now is $3,000, but it buys the same thing. That shows you how little our currency is worth today. So the war in the future, America became the greatest nation in the world following the Civil War when we did just exactly what Trump is doing now. We said to Britain, we're not going to buy your stuff. We're not going to buy your crap. We're going to make our own, and we're going to build America, buy America. We can create what? The Industrial Revolution. Now it's going to be a technological revolution. And the only nation that can really give us any real competition in the high-tech industry is China. But takes too long to get into it right now. But Trump has China into a box. The future for America is outstanding. America is going to restore economically. We're going to refinance that $9 trillion at a very low interest rate. Look at the pressure Trump is putting on the Fed. He's going to get rid of the Fed. He's telling us we're going to get rid of the Fed. That's 35% in your pocket, folks. And then if he gets rid of property tax, that's more money in your pocket. And that's all going to pay down the debt. All right, let's go on down. And this, I've done 2-hour shows on this. This is really deep, but they're telling us we're going to fix all these things. This is Agenda 2050. This is the $93 trillion lie. And what Trump is going to do is he's going to say, we're not going to spend all that money. For the short term, if we're going to have that energy that we talked about and that technological revolution, the energy requirements of the world are going to double or triple over the next 20 years. And we're going to transition going back to drill, baby, drill, go back to our fossil fuels, go back to our foundation. We're going to export energy. We're not going to be controlled by energy, but we're going to be phasing in new technology. That's why before he went out of office, he got the Chevron decision reversed, opening up the door for some 6,000 high-tech patents that are going to create the greatest industrial revolution in the world, and America's going to drive it. He's positioning us to be the driver. There's going to be massive wealth into this country, and that's going to change this world like you can't believe, both America and the world, because if we get prosperous, we'll share it with the rest of the world. So study those, and what you'll see is none of any of the things that they say they're going to do to bring peace and prosperity to the world are achievable unless they let us have the free energies that are going to be released because of the Chevron deal that's on the table because of one Donald J. Trump. Let's go to the next slide. And you can't have peace and prosperity and the kind of economic system we want when you have wars all over the world. So what happens? Let's look at the analogy. Trump comes in and he goes into Iran, bing bang, in and out, and job done, and that's it. Now we think you ought to talk about negotiating a peace agreement. But what did Bush do? He comes in after 9/11, says this is going to be a generational war lasting 30 years. What was Vietnam? It was a generational war. Those were wars that were not politically just, but they were designed to collapse America. Trump, what he's doing is designed to get us out of war, strength through peace, to bring in peace and prosperity and economic prosperity for everybody in the entire world. Let's go to the next slide now. That's the halfway point, folks. That's what lays the foundation for
We're
you
good
to
on time.
understand.
We're good on time, Larry. We're good on time.
All right, then I'll slow down a little bit.
Yeah,
All
slow
right,
down.
that's what gives us the foundation for what he's doing now. So now we can dig into the detail, and I can catch a breath. Good. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so here we go. I want you to understand this man is a genius, and he has a lot of really smart people working around him. So here's what's really going to happen. Trump's common sense policy is all laid out in this bill. So it's reciprocal trade. What that means is fair trade. It means we're going to make a buck on trade, not lose money. Sovereign borders. He's going to close those borders. He's going to basically do everything he can to encourage self-deportation, and then he'll deal with the ones that are left. And if he does what I hope he's going to do, we're going to give some amnesty to the dreamers so that we don't have chaos in this country, and we can have peace and unity. Those people can really be absorbed into our culture, assimilated like we should have them happen. And then sovereign currency. What that means is we're going to have a new system, not fiat, not money printed out of thin air that creates a debt obligation, but honest, real currency based on all of our agriculture. We're one of the biggest agriculture producers in the world, based upon the automobile industry that he says he's going to make number one, based upon the manufacturing that's going to come back. We're going to have it based on gold. And that kind of an economy can't be manipulated. It gives stability. And then we're going to have energy independence. Now, it's going to come in two phases. Third world countries like Africa are going to be able to adopt these new energy innovations immediately. They didn't go to landline. They went directly to the phone. They're going to be able to grow and come up and prosper very quickly. We'll have to phase into it because we have a multi-trillion-dollar grid system out there and an energy system where we'll be innovating and integrating those in a little at a time. But America and the whole world is going to have a new energy platform that allows us to have 2 or 3 times the energy we have now. We can't do that on the current grid system that we have. American-made products. So when I'm a little old. So when I was a kid, it was all about buy America, make America, being proud of America. We were proud to be Americans. He's going to restore that patriotism. His 2050 tour is in full development. I've been involved a little bit in the background, finding out what's going on. We're going to be proud to be Americans when we go to that tour. It's going to kick off in the end of December and go to the following end of December. You're going to be proud to be an American. I'm telling you, what he's got coming for us is amazing. All right, so we reduce waste and fraud. So that's DOGE. That's going into the Medicaid and finding out all the deadbeats that are on it that shouldn't be. So I was really just simply saying with Medicare, look, if you justifiably should be on here, we're going to pay you. But if you shouldn't be on here, if you're not looking for a job, if you don't want to work, if you're an illegal immigrant, we're not going to give you on here. That's more money.
What
for the
about like
American people.
disability and stuff like that? I mean, that doesn't change, right?
No, nope. He's just getting rid of the deadbeats, just like he's going to get rid of the people.
But someone
he's
can
gonna
say,
get-
"Oh, I'm mentally incapable of holding a job. I got,
Well, then if they are, they are.
bipolar
And
disorder, or I'm, whatever. I don't know. Like, there's people out there that
can-
claim that stuff.
that's a whole different issue. All he's saying is, if you want to stay on the rolls, you have to show that you're either working 20 hours a week volunteering 20 hours a week are actively looking for a job. That's all he's saying. And if you're a legal immigrant, we're not going to give you handouts. That's what he's saying. And that's protecting the system, not destroying the system. So basically, this going down, he's going to reduce the size of government. So he's shifting power to the states, and power back to the states is basically what our foundation was built on in the first place. So basically, now let's go to this next slide that you pulled up. And I want to stop and take a breath, and I want to ask people
Which one? This one or this one? This one here?
The one up, Schumer. All right. So if it's true that he's doing all these things to pay down the debt, to get us out from under the Fed, to get us on a stable economy, to end war, why in the world would the Democrats be fighting him? Because unfortunately, we have powers within our government that are against us and not for us. So I want to read this. No plans to make America better. This is the Democrats. Only plans to obstruct Trump. Schumer boasts Democrats have appointed 235 liberal judges to obstruct Trump. He said, we have everything.
How many?
Particularly 235.
Who did this?
There it is. Schumer boasts that
Wow.
Democrats have appointed 235.
Like an army of judges to stop Trump at every move.
Yes. And so he said all along, we know. So he's going to get his day in court. And then they go on down and some more boasting. They say Democrats have filed over 165 lawsuits to obstruct Trump. So everything he tries to do, let's go take some gang members out from Venezuela out of this country. Oops, that's a lawsuit, and I'm not sure what they do. So basically, open your eyes, folks. God told me that I'd come out when things were hot, and the message that I would give with the detail that I delivered would open people's eyes. This is an invitation on this slide. Open your eyes. Trump is trying to create equity and parity and peace and prosperity for not only America, but for the world. So let's go on down and we're going to dig into this thing. So here's what we were talking about a minute ago when you were asking some of the questions. Here's your Medicaid bill. So basically all he's saying is we want to preserve Medicaid. And to do that, we want to keep the deadbeats off the roll. That's all that slide is saying. Let's go down to the next one. It's a little more important and I'll spend a little more time on that one. So hold on, my computer is freezing on me. All right. So look at this, the truth about deficit spending. So I showed you that basically our debt comes from two principal sources. The perpetual wars that we pay, that we're in, that cost us trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and then the intentionally losing trade. That's where most of our debt comes from. So what's he going to do? End perpetual wars. So we already talked about it. He's not having 30-year wars. He's going in, he bombed Iran. He said, all right, we've got the nuclear power. You can't build an atomic bomb. That's all I wanted to accomplish. And by the way, we're not against you, Iran. We're willing to work with you. We invite you to come to the table and let's negotiate peace. Let's go on down. Gutting of U.S. manufacturing. That's what's led to part of the problem we have. Here's what they say: he who controls money controls the world. I take it a little deeper. He who controls manufacturing controls the money that controls the world. So all of our GDP comes from the natural resources that we have that are turned into finished goods, that are sold, that turn into the money that run the economy. So we gave our manufacturing to China intentionally, starting with the Carter administration. And all your investment advisors say, oh, folks, you want to make a lot of money? Invest in high growth. What were they telling you? Give your money to China. And now the opposite is happening. You're going to see where the money was flowing out. Now it's flowing in. And energy independence is essential. So what would they do? Every time they wanted to control us, and there was some big thing they wanted to do, there was a crisis and the oil prices on your gas tanks would go up double or triple. I remember when it was $12 out in California. I mean, we're going to get out from that because they're not going to have the ability to create these shortages. And price gouging on pharmaceuticals, folks, he's already basically setting up the stage so that the elderly are going to be able to get medicines. Our medicines are far more expensive than in Canada or any other place in the world. We're getting gouged. He's fixing that. And freeloading on military spending. So what did he do? Remember, this is one of our big drains. First term, he said, hey, guys, why don't you pay the 2% you agreed to? And most of them ended up. And now what did he do? He said, I'm going to get rid of wars. And so he went in and he attacked Iran. And then he went immediately to NATO and said, hey, a new deal on the table. America's losing money. We were losing money on trade. We fixed that. Now we're losing money being the world's police force. So hereforth, thereafter, you will pay 5% of your GDP. Look at all the money. Think of all the nations in the world that are in NATO, and they're paying us 5% of the GDP. Wow. Wow. You think that's going to add debt to us? Look at everything he's doing. He's building a foundation for America to be what? The greatest nation in the world that will restore its financial situation and come back and help the rest of the world. And if you think that we're not being drained by paying for five-star hotels for immigrants, by giving them cell phones, by giving them credit cards, that debt has
It's
to go away.
unbelievable that people backed that. I still am in disbelief over that.
So what did Franklin say? Benjamin Franklin made a statement. He said, once the people least willing or least able to work find out that they can get money for the public coffers, it's just a matter of time until the government collapses in on itself and anarchy comes in. That's what they're trying to do. The whole immigration issue is nothing but a covert form.
Look what's happening in Europe.
Yeah.
It's already happening over there.
Yep. And they're also outbirthing them over there and getting Sharia law. So immigration, we need to do some real deep dives on immigration. It's a covert war. It may not be kinetic bombs coming from the sky, but it's every bit as lethal. So he's
100%.
addressing all of these. Waste and fraud and abuse, he's attacking it. He's going in and he's finding it out and he's digging it out. And all of that is doing the opposite of what they're claiming. Instead of driving us deeper into debt, he's giving us a sound financial footing to stand on to be able to rebuild America. Let's go to the next slide and we'll dig down even deeper. So the very first bullet completely erases their lie. He's going to add $5 trillion to the national debt.
This is what everyone is saying. This is what everyone's debating about.
Now, that's why you can't go into the minutiae and get caught in the lies that they have. Here's what really is happening. So when we started losing money and giving it to China, the exact opposite's happening. Xi Jinping said, oh, Trump, you just made the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. You're going to be isolated and all the nations are come to China. No, they all came to 150 nations came to the U.S. and said, Trump will negotiate, because we really are the superpower of the world. And they isolated China. Now China's economically collapsing. So what happened? All of a sudden, the nations of the world saw that the future is in America, not in China. And they started pledging. And the next slide, we'll see some of those pledges. But now it's amassed to 10 trillion. No, go to the slide yet. Stay on the other one. To $10 trillion that's committed to build factories in America. So unless I do my math wrong, we're supposed to lose 5 million, but we just got 10 million. So we're 5 million ahead. They're lying. Okay, then let's go on down. Massive increase in GDP. Well, where's that going to come from? You build all these big factories and bring all that money in, and of course your economy starts to grow. That's what was driving the growth of China, those incredible GDP growths that you saw. So that's what's going to happen to America. And how's he going to do it? Technological revolution will release suppressed patents. So what he's doing is saying it used to take 5 years to get a permit to build a factory or to build a road. He says, if you come in and give me $1 billion, I'll give you a permit to start building your factory in 90 days. He's taking all the obstructionist regulations out so he can supercharge this economy, revolutionize the automobile industry. What did he do? China was getting ready to build the largest automobile plant in the world in Mexico and going to crush our auto.
They were going to build it. That's right. They were building it in Mexico. I heard about that. They were in the process of building it, and now they shut it down, correct?
All he had to do is just say, hey, do it. I'm not going to block you, but I'll put a 200% tariff on you, and you'll never sell a car in Mexico. And that project died on the vine.
In America, you'll never sell it in America.
Yep. So basically, what's he been saying to people? You want to build that factory? You build it in America, and guess what? You won't pay any tariffs. And if you come here, we're going to change our tax structure. Not only won't you pay tariffs, but you'll have some of the lowest taxes in the world. And what does that mean? It means that come to America and you will prosper along with America.
Yeah, this is incredible. Incredible.
Pretty amazing.
Complete
right?
turnaround, yeah.
Yep, tax cuts to stimulate the economy. The more money you have in your pocket, the more you can spend, which does what? That drives up the domestic market. And then he's creating trade deals for the international market. So now he's handling the domestic and the international and bringing in new revenue from new factories. Boom, we're growing like leaps and bounds. And America is paying off its national debt, not going deeper into debt. Does it all track with you, Nino?
Yep.
All right, so let's go on down. Currency revaluation. Oh, look at this. They took our gold in 33. It was $35 an ounce. They doubled it to 65. Now our gold is sitting in our reserves at a disgusting, from what I understand, $40 an ounce, while gold is trading for 3,000. He's going to revalue the value of the gold that's in our reserves. What's that going to do? That's going to make us have a whole lot more money in our treasury. So, I mean, it's just amazing. Currency revaluation will add trillions to the U.S. Treasury Department. America will lead technological revolution that will bring in trillions of dollars. So let's go to the next slide. And immediately, within days following what he said he was going to do on those tariffs, we start to get Japan will give you $1 trillion. UAE will give you 1.4 trillion, and on down it goes. And now you get to the end. And currently, we've got pledges for
That's
factories
all
to be
coming into America.
$10 trillion. That means the manufacturing that was stealing our money in China, those same people are leaving China and coming here. Now they're not just coming here. They're going to Vietnam, they're going to India, they're going to Mexico. But basically the whole world is going to get out from under the trap where the logistics system of the world can control and manipulate us with intentionally caused shortages and delays. And that's going to go away. The whole world is going to have a major reset. Let's go to the next slide. And we're going back to the pride of America. Buy America, made America. So they're screaming, it's going to cost you a fortune. Well, let's go back to what happened when we did this following the Civil War. Things were a little more expensive. But what happened is we said to our entrepreneurs, you need to innovate. We innovated the Industrial Revolution. And pretty soon, within 34 years, coming out of a bankruptcy, in 34 years, we declared America is now the wealthiest nation in the world. We're coming out, we're barely escaping a bankruptcy. And I guarantee you, in 10 years, you want to recognize America. All those gleaming cities you see in China and Dubai and everything, they're going to be right here in America because the money is coming here. We're the new magnet for money. And Donald Trump.
We just have to make sure whoever's after Donald Trump can hold up to the standard. That's
why.
Yeah.
That's why something is happening in the background. He had the Chevron deal, but we also have drafted a new Declaration of Independence. It hasn't come out to the public yet, but basically we declared our independence originally from Britain, right? Now this is declaring our independence from the corporation. We're getting out of the financial system, the Fed that has controlled us, and we're going to a new economic system, not based on fiat currency that causes us to go into debt, but based on stable economies, based on gold and silver and oil and wheat and gold. And here's your question about the currencies. If you go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a slide ahead. If you go to the next slide. No, going down, next slide. Okay, this is it in a nutshell. If you want to make America great and therefore make the rest of the world great, allow America to bring the factories in, to build them, let them build them quickly, build America, buy America, and America give the right tax structure to the rest of the world so they'll be willing to bring their money in here, and we will rebuild, and then we'll help the rest of the world rebuild. And let's go to the next slide, and there's your question being answered on the next slide about the currencies. That's your rainbow currency. It's already been printed. It's going to be based on gold. Gold is going to be what drives the economy, along with lithium and copper and gold and oil and wheat and all of that. And that takes us to the basis for the new economic system. When I died in 68, God showed me this was coming, but he said it can't come until we have a technological revolution that gives us quantum computing, that gives us AI, that gives us crypto. Because here, let's look at this and break it down. When we go to this new economy that's going to be the lifesaver for the world, you can't go into the grocery store and take a gold coin worth $3,000 and say, I want to buy a loaf of bread. So you got to have something that allows you to break it down to a penny. And that is crypto. And that is particularly the rails for the crypto market, which is XRP and XLM. So let's
where does Bitcoin fit into all this?
Bitcoin is our bank. Bitcoin is like gold. Bitcoin is our strategic reserve. So once we get rid of the Fed and we do need to borrow money for some project, we won't be borrowing it from the Fed so that it's all going to the bad guys. We'll be borrowing it from ourselves.
Oh.
That was money that was taken from the bad guys, and that's happening all over the world. So something that's happening that people don't know is when he went on the capitulation tour in 2017, there was massive amounts of money. There were CEOs who stepped down. Look at what's happening in the mainstream media. You got X, they just bought out. Now you what we're going to do is take the money from the bad guys and we're going to buy those same corporations and run them by the good guys. I mean, it's amazing. So here's how XRP works. God showed me that he was going to give the people, this is the reason I'm doing this show, the opportunity for the first time in the history of the world to invest in something that was previously only allowed to be invested in by the elite. So if you look into, I'm not a financial counselor, go do your homework, you'll find that XRP is going to be the rails for this new system. Basically, what it's going to do is $127 trillion that is held hostage because we have an old banking system that says if you want to transfer money from, say, France to the United States, both banks have to have francs and dollars. So now that's no longer going to be the case. You're going to transfer that money with a token called XRP at a fraction of a penny in 3 to 6 seconds. And then whatever you're buying, you're going to be able to break down a whole oil tanker full of oil and buy a penny's worth, if that's what you want to do. Buy 1/100th of a Bitcoin. So that gives us the flexibility, and then we can do smart contracts. So the whole economic system, the whole basis of our accounting system is going to change, and it's going to give us fluidity and flexibility. And if you don't think it's coming, I used to have my own real estate company. Well, guess what? Fannie and Freddie, they're the big boys in the market, right? They're the government in the market. They just said, we're just announcing that, hey, you can buy a house using crypto. Gee whiz, do you think that's the direction we're going? And then Stellar is basically for transactions for on the retail side of the market. So that's the economy that's coming. And let's go to the next slide and we'll see what it erases, what it gets rid of. So basically, if we have an economy that's based on these foundations of things that are valuable, there's no more inflation. There's no more deflation. There's no more wage suppression. So what's happened in the last 50 years with the computer? Productivity is going up and up and up and up and up and double and triple and double and triple, and wages have stayed the same and inflation has gone up. So what it really means, folks, is that for the last 20 years, your standard of living has gradually been going down, 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 down to where you can hardly afford to keep your head above water anymore. That's gone. No more inflation, no deflation, no wage suppression. The stock market's no longer going to be able to be manipulated. 29, we have the roaring 20s. Everything's great. Then come Black Friday and everything wasn't so great. And we had a 10-year depression. And then we go into 08 and they says, no problem. Everything is fine. And then Lehman Brothers crashes and all of a sudden nothing's fine. So basically they lie. They control and manipulate. They blow the bubble up. And then when they're ready, they pop it. And they've already taken their profit out before they pop that bubble. None of that can happen under the new economic system. National and consumer debt's going to get paid down, and we're spending $1 trillion a year just paying on the national debt. Imagine the gleaming new cities we could build if we had $1 trillion extra dollars. All right. Poverty and division going to go away because everybody is going to have a decent standard of living. We're not going to be wasting money on fraudulent purposes. Our military is now going to be funded by other nations. Go figure. I mean, that's more money that's paying off those debts, right? And the global conflicts are going to die down because who was it? It was a general who turned president named Eisenhower who said, hi, folks, is there any man, any woman, any child that doesn't understand the principal cause of war in the world is disparity between nations? So we're going to fix that. We're going to come in and we're going to basically allow every nation in the world to have their own sovereign currencies. So which means they have their own sovereign borders, which means they're really a real company. They're not a puppet of shadow government. Peace and prosperity is coming like the world can't see. All right, let's go to this next slide. This one's really important, folks. So I'm going to slow down a little bit. And then there's just one more slide other than to tell you about my book. Here's what's coming. What do you do? This is a question. This is Trump, and this is where they're land-based in. What do you do if you are facing inflation I would say pretty rapid inflation and the possibility of a financial reset and a financial collapse. What do? You pass the great big beautiful bill. What do? You bring in massive amounts of money into the country from every source you can get. And then what do? You spend it as fast as you can because you know that the longer you hold it, the less it's worth. So you build the infrastructure for the reset as fast as you can with the money you get from the big beautiful bill and from the money that's coming in from all these nations. And then you emerge as quickly as you can with a revitalized America that has a new manufacturing structure that's bringing in money by the shiploads, and it's basically increasing its GDP and getting out from under its debt. That's what you do. That's what Donald Trump is doing. That's the promise he made to make America great. And that's what this bill is actually doing. So let's go on down. Reciprocal trade. That's no longer a drain. We're now going to make money on our trade agreements. So stay on that slide. I'm just going down through the bullet points. Intentional international investments. So where's the money flowing? Not to China. It's coming here. $10 trillion already pledged. Infrastructure growth. Basically, once we get all of our money coming in, our infrastructure direly needs to be improved. And there's a proven formula. The more you invest in infrastructure, the more your GDP grows. So he's addressing that as well. That's a long-term approach. Technology will determine global leadership. We're going to be the technological leaders of the world, just like we were coming out when we invented the Industrial Revolution. Now we're going to invent the high-tech revolution. And taxes are going to get cut. So he just cut what? Didn't add, he just cut 1.5 in taxes. And some states are already saying, well, we're going to get rid of our property taxes. And he's alluding to the fact that he's going to get us some on the Fed. Think about if you add that all up, that's massive amounts of money. And I want to take an interjection and put it in here. So now he's telling us we're going to gradually get weaned off of fossil fuels and go to almost virtually free energy. I want to go through a logistics channel with you. My son's in logistics. You want to buy an automobile. That's one of the biggest money producers in the world for nations. It starts in a strip mine where a crane takes 10 tons of ore, drops it into a big truck that's driven off both run by diesel. It goes to a smelt where it's turned into finished steel. That's run by coal. It goes on a ship and basically it's shipped out all over the world to be turned into parts. 120 different locations that automobile is built in. And then it goes to places where it's assembled. And all of that's based on fossil fuels. And then the people come in and buy it. It's sent to the dealerships. Here's what would freak you out. Probably 60% of the cost of your automobile is energy. And that goes for every single solitary consumer item you buy. It's the more complex the supply chain, the more the cost is attributed in. So on something simple, it might be 20%, but on something complex, it might be 60. So now you're not paying federal income tax, you're not paying property tax, and you're paying drastically less for every consumer good you ever buy. And now on top of that, guess what happens? That house that you had in 2020 that was 200,000 because of inflation is now 400,000. And you think, oh God, my house is worth more, but you're also paying more property taxes. Well, here's what's going to happen. That house didn't get more valuable. The dollar got less valuable. So when we go on this commodity-backed system, we're going to go back to the 50s when the dollar was worth $1, when we had mills instead of pennies. And basically what's going to happen is that house that's $400,000, it might cost $40,000, and you're going to think will be lost. But no, because your buying power is going up. So what we're going to find, folks, is we're going to get off all these taxes and we're going to pay off the national debt, $1 trillion erased, and we're going to have money in our pockets, and it's just going to be amazing. That's what this bill is really doing. I mean, how egregious that they can have us fighting against something that is going to give us peace and prosperity in the world. I mean, it's amazing. Okay, then we're going to have a border that's closed, and look at all the drain that we're going to get off from under there.
Do you think he's going to shut the? Do you think there's going to? Do you think we've been discussing this a lot of the border patrol and people I know out here. Do you think the border is going to be shut down, like completely shut down at some point?
Well,
I think the cartel wars are going to kick. And the reason I say that is because, there's going to be backlash with the cartels and certain things that happen. I think The bleeding is going to come into America. We're going to start. I still think we're going to see violence, and I'm wondering if the border is going to be shut down completely for a time being.
I think it's I think it's imminent that it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I think
I do
it's
too.
imminent. There's no if there's one thing that I'm looking for that I'm just kind of unnerves me is there's been a lot of potential for terrorists to come into this country. And when that happens, starts to happen, I think he's going to have to close the borders.
Right.
I think he might have to have some limited martial law. I mean, we're not going to come out of this and strip the power away from these people without having some pain. But in the final analysis, I think he's going to be able to address the immigration issue in three
It's a
ways.
fight, and we're going to get hit, man. It's like say go
Yeah,
swimming and
close
don't
the
get
border
wet.
for a while. It's all gonna get worked out, and if you want me to come back, I've done some really detailed stuff on immigration. I know you're in Texas, so if you want to do a couple of those shows, I've got some really, really deep stuff on that
Yeah.
we can talk about
All right.
at
Go ahead.
another time. So NATO basically is going to pay their part. So we're not going to be spending all that money on our military anymore. And education, this is disgusting. We pay more money than any other nation in the world per capita, per child, and we rank 40. So one of the first things he did was what? He got rid of the federal Department of Education and is giving education back to the family, back to the charter schools, and America is going to be once again an educational mecca that people come to. But basically, what they wanted to do is dumb us down. And then what did they want to do? They said, well, we don't have any people to fit these high tech jobs we want. So they bring them in from other countries. So basically, they want to everything they do is to collapse us. So, folks, I hope I've opened your eyes a little bit. And let's go on down. And they've got two more slides. And I want to ask a question. And this last slide is a blessing from God. But this one basically is to ask you another question. What do you do if you're Trump and you've inherited this economy? You spend, spend, spend in order to build the infrastructure to rebound. And what happens if we don't do what he says, what he's got in this bill? We probably go bankrupt. And when we go bankrupt, we do just what Nino said. We become a third world nation. And then what happens? Then they're free to do what they want to do to us. And they really, truly do want to exterminate 7 billion of us. So we have never been in a greater position of danger, but at the same time, we've never had more optimism to look towards. The things are going to change in an amazing way. This next slide is something that God wanted to make sure that I discussed. So let's go on down. Basically, this transfer of wealth is beginning. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just going to tell you what God shows me, and I'm going to tell you to go out and do your own homework. The basis for resetting currencies has arrived. And people are having a hard time understanding that what I show in this slide could be real. Right now, today, if you can find a bank that sells Vietnam Dong, you can buy the Vietnam Dong for $60 plus there's a service fee, so it's about $70. And if you can't find a bank that sells it, you can go to a currency exchange and you can buy it there. You'll pay a premium. And if you can't find that, then I don't have this on this slide, so I just got this reference from a really good friend. What you can do, write this down, capital X, exchange of America, XCHANGE of America.com. And you can buy it there. Now, you're going to pay more at those other two places than you will if you can find a local bank. But look at this. This is an absolutely upside down risk reward pyramid. For $60, $70, $80, you might be able to buy $1 million in Dong. And they're saying it's going to revalue at around $2, not one. That's a typo that's on my slide. I guess
Jeez.
I thought you had the right slide, but I sent you a revision. So it should say two. So if you spend less than $100 and get $1 million worth of Dong, you just might end up having $2 million. And then there are other currencies that are going to value once they meet the criteria, and you'll have the opportunity to take that money and either buy some more currency or buy some XRP if you want. But now let me tell you why this is real. I've got a whole hour-long presentation on this, but Nino's short for time, so I'm just going to give you a feeling. This isn't happening in a vacuum. These currencies, the dinar, the dong, the zim, are all considered junk currencies. They're not traded on the Forex, which is where international trade occurs, because those currencies have to be valuable and they have to be stable. But right now, we're looking at evaluating these currencies and saying, do they warrant being revalued massively and going on the Forex? And the answer is yes, the dong does. Yes, the zim does. Yes, the Vietnam, the dinar does. And here's what it's about. Let's take Vietnam. They're inheriting massive amounts of manufacturing coming from China. Their GDP is 6%. They have virtually no debt. They have a strong domestic market. They have a strong international market. They have beautiful cities. They have beautiful factories. They have one of the youngest populations in the world. Their wages are less than those that are charged in China. They are poised. They have lots of gold and minerals. They're poised to be an economic superpower in the Middle East. They are, in fact, a regional Asian superpower. So why should their economy be down in the doldrums because of something that happened in Vietnam decades ago? Their currency should be valuable. It should be traded on the Forex, and it will be. So here's the process. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. So to take it from junk status to being on the Forex, the G7 and G20 have to get together and say, hey, what do you think the value of the Vietnam dong could be? Well, based upon all these criteria that I just mentioned and the assessment of all their assets, this is what it should be. And bang, all of a sudden it's on the Forex and it's a legitimate currency again. It meets all of the requirements, and there's an incentive for them to want to do it. And I'll tell you why. Because on the tariff side, basically Trump was addressing the first world countries, but down here, he's addressing something else. If the Vietnam dong is drastically cheaper than other currencies, what's that mean? They've got an advantage in the trade market. So it's to the advantage of the first world countries to bring that currency up so that it's on par. Just like we're on par on tariffs, we're on par there, par. So basically, folks, all I'm saying is go out and pray, do your homework. You might want to look at investing in some of these currencies. I've laid the groundwork that says this is real. And then let's go down to the very last line. And I know Nino's got things he's got to do. Basically, what I'm going to say to you folks is this is the time I've been waiting for. God said he'd call me out at the last minute to deliver a message with power and clarity to open people's eyes. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. And most people don't even know what that is. It's a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And it requires the following: that you be educated, that you be informed with the truth, that you be a patriot, that you be godly, and that you have the ability to go and vote your conscience based on what's in the best interest of the nation, not the best interest of yourself exclusively. All of that and more is in this book. This book is a history book, and it tells you what made America great, how we lost it, or nearly lost it, how we're getting it back, and how we'll keep it. And what we need is now we need an army of people to stand up for these principles, to stand united with what Donald Trump is doing to make America great so we can make the world great. But you need knowledge to do it. So this is the time you need to get informed. Buy this book. It's a quick, simple, easy read, and you can join the army. I'm not asking you to go out and risk your life. I'm asking you to be an informed patriot and vote your conscience based upon the truth, and we'll save this nation.
Larry, I got a
That's it.
split. I appreciate everything. We did it. We did it. I
We did
told
it.
you we could
We
do
did
it.
it.
I bet you're surprised when I called you
Uh,
this morning, huh?
I think my tongue is a little looser than it was. I talked a little faster in the beginning.
All right, Larry, thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Nino.
joining me, folks. Get busy. Go. It's The Last Crusade. Is that what it was called? The book.
I'm sorry, what again?
The name of your book again?
Oh, Liberty Crusade.
Liberty
Liberty
Crusade.
Crusade,
Got it.
fight to save the free world.
All right, folks. Thanks, Larry. Thank you so much for joining me. This was epic. It was epic. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.